Hello, friends, and welcome to Grits and the Gospel, episode 0. I'm Reverend Katie Griffis. I won't always use the Reverend title on this podcast, but I think on the first one, it is important to say out loud, just for myself, if no one else. I am still in my beginning stages of my call to ministry, and it's a good reminder for me to know that I am indeed a reverend and God has called me to this place, and I'm so excited to be here. I call this episode 0 because I was actually listening to another podcast that I really love, where they are Sean Hayes and Eric McCormick are rewatching Will and Grace together, and it's so fun and it has been great to listen to. But they did a first episode that was called episode 0. And what they did was just introduce what the podcast was going to be each week. It wasn't a full podcast. It was just kind of telling people what they wanted to do with this platform that they have. I thought that was such a great idea. So here we are today working on episode 0 of Grits and the Gospel. Most of the episodes early on will be of my sermons. I've got a friend that's going to be clipping them out and putting them in this format so I can have them all in one place for my own record and for all of you to be able to come to one spot and listen to all my sermons no matter where I give them. There might be some here or there that don't get recorded, and my goal is to read those into the record as well. I am a script sermon preacher, and so I have, in 36-point font, I have all of my sermons. And so I am going to try to read those into the record if they are not recorded. So all of them will be in one place. I love this format that we have here on the World Wide Web, on YouTube and on different podcast formats, because it allows us to reach people who would not normally get to hear what I'm called to preach. I love this new calling in my life, and I am merely a vessel for the words that I am given. And I'm a lectionary preacher, mainly because it means I don't have to choose the scripture each week while I'm in school. It's just one less thing for me to do. But it also is going to give me a good run through the Gospels. Year A, B, and C of the lectionary kind of take those main scriptures from the Gospels and direct us and guide us through them. And I'm excited to preach those scriptures as we go through the podcast and through my career. As I mentioned, I am in school. At the start of this podcast, I'm a middler at Candler School of Theology. A middler is your middle year, kind of like sophomore, junior, senior, but it's a 3-year program, so they call the second year a middler, which I love. And I am loving my time at Candler and at Emory. It is so fun to act like I'm a young kid again and put a backpack on and be on a college campus. I am being fed in so many ways by these experiences with new friends, with this feeling of invigoration and being back in the scholarly world. I love my time studying there. And I hope you'll get to meet some of my friends eventually on this podcast as well. If we find that we have time to do little things like this, we will certainly make that happen. But as I said, for now, it's just going to be a place to deposit my sermons. I have to give myself so much grace being in school and serving a church that I'm going to try not to set my expectations too high for the work that I can do in this platform. But eventually, it is my goal to interview people that I admire in the faith community, to do devotionals here on this platform, all kinds of new and fun things. And so I appreciate all of you tuning in today for this episode 0. It's called Grits and the Gospel because I love words and because the alliteration just made me giggle. I cannot take credit for this title, but when it was said to me or sent to me, I thought, that's perfect, because it really is a cross-section of my Southern heritage and my Georgia peach-ness and this faith journey that I'm on. And so I picked that title, and I'm so excited about it. So I currently am serving in North Georgia. When this is airing, I am part-time student and part-time preacher, and I am serving a little church in North Georgia, which I am thoroughly enjoying my time up here. But I'm also serving in South Georgia. I am being ordained through the South Georgia Conference of the United Methodist Church. And because I'm in 2 conferences, I have 2 of everything. And one thing I have lots of, more than 2, is mentors. And I have loved that. I love creating community, and I love that I get to have mentors in North and South Georgia. Some I have sought out on my own, some I have been given, some are at Candler, and some of them are through the United Methodist Church. I'm especially thankful for my mentor in South Georgia that's the official one. Nancy Lee Cater is a retired elder in the United Methodist Church, and she's now a chaplain at Magnolia Manor. And she and I have really bonded over this journey, and I'm so thankful for her guidance and wisdom and care of me. I could not have asked for anyone better to be assigned to me. Being from Macon, everybody knows everybody, and when I heard her name, I thought, gosh, I know her, and I did know her from a long time ago, but we've been able to reconnect and really talk about the process. She's been a great resource. And one of the things she did for me as we met before I moved up here is in our meetings, she would light a vanilla candle before every meeting, and we would have that fragrance wafting about the conference room where we were meeting as we worked together. And it was because of these 2 verses that I will read to you now. They're from Ephesians chapter 5. Verse 1 says, "Follow God's example, therefore, as dearly loved children, and walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God." Now, we don't have smell-o-vision here on the podcast world, and you can't smell the candles that I have lit here at the parsonage, but I feel like this platform is like a fragrance that's kind of being lifted up to God as a sacrifice of time, but one that is definitely something I'm willing to do and excited to do, just as Jesus gave up his life for all of his dearly loved children. I'm offering up this fragrance of this podcast. And that verse really speaks to me in a lot of ways. Every time I preach, I think about it, because that's really what I'm doing, is just taking in this message that God has given me and then sending it back out as an offering. And that fragrant offering is what this platform and this Grits in the Gospel is all about. And I'm excited to have you join me on this journey through my sermons. Selfishly, there's also another thing that I really love about this platform. On a personal note, it's not selfish, I don't think. I think it's something, part of my calling that I enjoy and that I think about a lot. Because I was not able to have children, I think a lot about legacy and what am I going to leave out in the world? I've thought about that a lot, especially since my grandmother passed away. That was a real pivotal moment for me in so many ways. And you'll hear me talk about it some in my sermons and my call story, but legacy is not, it can be pretty selfish. But that's not the kind of legacy I'm talking about. I'm not talking about all the silver and gold we leave, all the furniture, all the things. I'm talking about, do we leave this world a better place than where we found it? And what legacy in that way do we leave? I treasure most in this world things that are not worth monetary amounts that are significant, but things that show my great-grandmother's handwriting or her sister's handwriting, or things that they typed out on their typewriter, pictures that they left. That's the kind of thing I treasure the most in my life. And as I think about my own legacy, I think about the sermons I preach and my thoughts and ideas on my own faith and my own journey and my own faults and shortcomings that God is using and making whole. And so if you know me, you know I have a color-coded paper calendar. I also, don't be shocked, have a paper pastoral record. And that definitely shows what different things I've done and will do in my career as a pastor. But having this record and this legacy to be able to pass on is not just for my nephew and my nieces to cherish, which I hope they do one day, but also for that vessel to be continued beyond my days. And that's pretty deep and kind of dark, but it is what it is. It's what I think about a lot as I get older and want to leave a mark on this world with my faith and with my testimony. So I'm doing that here in the podcast realm, and I hope that you will enjoy this ride. It'll be, I'm sure, a lot of laughs. My sermons tend to have humor in them, so I hope that you'll enjoy them and hear God speaking to you through this podcast, Grits in the Gospel. I want to thank, before I go today, I want to really thank my technical support. Gosh, I wouldn't know what in the world to do if it was not for JT Clements. JT is a dear friend from Camp Christian, which I know you'll hear me preach about and talk about in my sermons. It's a transformative place for me, but we have been counseling together. I've been keynoting there for a couple of years, and he is a wonderful counselor to these high school students. But he has a business on the side that does this kind of tech support for people, and I seriously would not know what to do without him. And so I just want to thank him. I'm more than sure that the only people listening to this podcast will be people that know me. And if you are a preacher and want some services for your church, or if you want to start your own podcast and need some help and advice, reach out to me and I'll be happy to get you JT's information. He is such a doll, and I'm just a young child compared to me. And I have just been so thankful for his wise counsel and constant tech support. As I always say, it takes a village to raise a Katie, and he is my IT department. So thank you, JT. If you listen to this, I hope you will hear it and receive it with all the love it's sent with. You make my life a lot easier. So as we wrap up today, I just want to say thank you for joining me today. Thank you for encouraging me. Thank you for listening to the words that I'm given and helping me live into this call as a vessel of the gospel. Well, that's it. Episode 0 of Grits in the Gospel. Be on the lookout for my sermons to start showing up here. And I'm excited to have you along for my journey. Have a blessed day.